The last Terran cruiser vanished in flames, its distress call ending mid-scream. Onyx 9 was next. Every radar ping screamed inevitability. The Serati fleet wasn't massive, it was overwhelming. 2 dreadnoughts, 12 destroyers, and a swarm of missile corvettes swirled around the orbital perimeter like vultures. Onyx 9 had a single kinetic cannon and an aging defense grid. The colony's atmosphere shimmered under the first ion burst. The civilians below had stopped running. Where could they go? Captain Thorne stood at command, eyes fixed on the holographic feed of the stars beyond. No reinforcements, no reserves. Earth Command had gone silent. Backup wasn't coming. And then it happened. A ripple, not a signal. Not a warp signature. A glitch in every sensor. Coordinates twisted for exactly 1.8 seconds. When the system corrected, something hung in orbit, a dark silhouette without IFF, without lights, without explanation. It wasn't registered on the battlefield grid. It shouldn't exist, but it was there. And in the control room, the youngest comms officer's voice cracked. "Sir, unidentified vessel just entered high orbit. Transponder code matches USS Blackstar." Thorne didn't breathe. No one did. That ship had disappeared 7 years ago. It wasn't even listed anymore. Blackstar had vanished during the Titan Drift massacre, when Earth's first fleet was slaughtered. Declared destroyed. Or worse, AWOL. There had been whispers since rumors. From battlefronts, scattered ghost signatures before impossible enemy losses. Nothing confirmed. Until now, the Serati dreadnoughts responded instantly. 4 corvettes accelerated toward the newcomer, weapons hot, formation locked. The Blackstar did nothing. No signal, no defense, no shift in trajectory. The corvettes opened fire. Missile locks, plasma beams, focused lasers, all converging on the dark silhouette. Mid-flight, their targeting systems went dark. Navigation scrambled. 2 collided and disintegrated. 1 detonated mid-pulse. The last just disappeared. Its scream cut short before sensors blinked flatline. Then the Blackstar moved, not fast, not smooth. It shifted like broken gravity, a jagged lurch. It closed the gap between it and the Serati destroyers in seconds. A beam carved from negative space sliced 1 destroyer in half. Another was gutted from the inside by a ripple of gravitational inversion. The dreadnoughts opened full barrages, but the Blackstar was already somewhere else, warping between distances without effect signatures. It didn't dodge. It unexisted, then reappeared. Inside Onyx 9. Civilians huddled in the storm shelters watched the skies bloom with fire. Children cheered, not understanding the stakes. The adults stared, mouths open, caught between awe and dread. The soldiers had no words. They only remembered stories. The Revenant, the ship that wouldn't die. The vessel Earth tried to erase. Why would it come back now? Thorne muttered. The Blackstar began dismantling the fleet methodically. 1 destroyer launched escape pods. The pods vanished mid-flight. Another tried to flee. It made it 12 light seconds before folding in half, atom by atom. Something was wrong. This wasn't war. It was erasure. Not destruction removal. No salvage, no debris. Only silence followed where ships used to be. A transmission finally hit Onyx 9's receivers. Not a message, just a file dump. Fractured logs, old mission reports, photographs of Earth's ruined colonies, satellite footage of Serati war crimes, time-stamped images of burning cities, families, children. The last file was a still image, a girl with a prosthetic arm, standing beside a metal coffin. No name, no context. The dreadnoughts moved to full retreat formation. A Serati command signal broke through local comms, pure desperation. Orders to scatter. Orders to wipe all records of the engagement. Orders to abandon orbital control. Then Blackstar spoke. Not through coms, but through every frequency at once. A single voice, distorted, genderless, layered with echoes and static. It said only 5 words. You forgot what we are. The dreadnoughts turned to fire. One never managed to lock. The other launched its main cannon. The energy never hit. Instead, the weapon imploded, sucking its own systems into a vortex of collapsing probability. It tried to eject its core. Blackstar was already inside. A fracture wave shimmered through the ship's hull. The dreadnought folded in on itself like wet paper. Gone. The last Sirati ship didn't die. It ran, disappeared into deep warp space. No pursuit. Blackstar let it go. A message was more effective when one survived to tell it. The colony remained untouched. Not a scratch. Not a warning shot. No signal from Blackstar. It hung there motionless, orbiting for hours. Some believed it was watching. Others thought it was remembering. Captain Thorne sent a direct signal, voice barely steady, to USS Blackstar. This is Earth Command Forward Onyx 9. Confirm your identity. No response. Another ping. No handshake. Only one line came back, hard-coded, pre-encoded, non-verbal. We answer to no command. We remember Earth. Then it vanished. No warp trail, no heat bloom, just gone. 1 second present, the next not. 3 hours later, Earth Command received the battle logs from Onyx 9. The footage was encrypted, but decrypted itself upon arrival. It spread like wildfire. The military tried to contain it, then gave up. The myth had returned. But it was no longer a myth. In every fleet, whispers spread. Morale surged. Soldiers refused to evacuate colonies. Civilians returned to war-torn worlds. No one knew where the Blackstar would strike next. But everyone believed it could. Across the Sirati front, fleets repositioned. Border worlds were reinforced. The High War Council convened an emergency session. Not to plan another assault, but to draft contingency procedures in case. Blackstar appeared near Sirati Prime. The Sirati called it an anomaly. A relic. A mistake. Terrans knew better. They had seen the old weapon rise again, not out of vengeance. Not for orders, but because someone, somewhere, needed to remember what humanity had become when cornered. And so began the era of silent dread. Now the galaxy knew USS Blackstar had entered the war. And nothing survived its wrath. The Sirati High Fleet burned for 3 hours before the last trace of their presence vanished from Onyx 9's orbit. No distress calls made it out. No black box transmissions were recovered. Everything they brought to that system was annihilated tactically, surgically, and with such precision that it didn't look like war. It looked like judgment. Across Terran space, the footage spread like wildfire. Not through official channels, but through leaked fragments, military scans, helmet cams, survivor whispers. In every video, one constant remained. The Blackstar never missed, never hesitated, never answered. It simply acted. With rage, with clarity, and with impossible force. For the first time in the war, the galaxy saw what it meant when humanity stopped fighting to win and started fighting to remember. When the next system came under threat, it wasn't Earth's fleet that responded. The Blackstar arrived first. The enemy fleet had barely begun orbital lockdown when gravity ruptures tore through their cruisers. No build-up, no announcement. One moment they were there. The next, heat and vacuum claimed everything. The survivors, if any, were never identified. What was left wasn't salvageable. It wasn't even visible. And then came the message, not from Blackstar, but from the enemy's own systems, hijacked, broadcast back through their networks. A line written in old Earth language's dead dialects. Translated simply, war is memory. You taught us to hate. Command centers across the Sirati Dominion scrambled. Fleets rerouted. Security protocols rewritten. They issued orders to locate the Blackstar, contain it, capture it if possible. They launched trackers, stealth drones, deep space recon fleets. Nothing came back. Then the pattern began. Every time a Terran colony was threatened, the Blackstar appeared. Every time an outpost lost contact, the signal was followed by silence, enemy silence. Not a single Terran civilian was harmed after Onyx 9. No friendly fire, no miscalculations. The ship hit only enemy assets with mathematical precision. And it never lingered. Never returned the same way twice. Analysts pored over the footage. Military AI tried to model its strategy. Nothing matched. It didn't follow protocols. It didn't use traditional command structures. Its moves resembled no known battle logic. The Blackstar fought like it wasn't constrained by time. It anticipated moves that hadn't been made yet. It countered strategies before they unfolded. Then the theories emerged that it had no crew, or worse, it had too many. Some believed it was piloted by a collective, the minds of fallen Terran tacticians, uploaded into its systems during Earth's darkest hour. Others swore it was an AI that had evolved past human instruction, driven only by a single directive: protect Earth at all costs. A few, mostly veterans, believed the truth was simpler: that somewhere, someone was still on board. Still fighting, still hurting. Its weapon systems didn't resemble any known configuration. In fact, some were impossible. One planetary camera captured a Serati battleship folding into itself like crumpled cloth before vanishing. Engineers reviewing the footage calculated that kind of spatial inversion required more energy than the entire Terran fleet had ever produced. Another cruiser disintegrated mid-broadcast, caught in what looked like a localized time fracture. 20 seconds of looped suffering before collapse. Still, not a single strike hit a Terran lifeform. And then came the incident at Arden's Reach. The Serati, desperate to reclaim momentum, deployed a doomsday weapon, a sunbreaker, capable of destabilizing a star's core to incinerate entire systems. They deployed it near a densely populated Terran mining belt, giving Earth a simple ultimatum: surrender or burn. They never got a reply. Blackstar arrived in the middle of the Serati fleet before they could initialize the weapon's core. It didn't fire. It didn't jam systems. It simply spoke. The same message, heard across every Serati ship, in perfect, emotionless Terran standard: you threaten children. There is no coming back from that. What followed wasn't battle, it was execution. The sunbreaker didn't explode. It folded like paper drawn through a singularity. Every Serati warship nearby blinked out of existence one by one. No debris. No shockwaves. Only a spreading silence as their network feeds dropped to static. The last transmission from the Serati commander was a scream, not of pain, of confusion. He didn't understand what he was seeing. They were insects, he shouted. Insects don't build gods. He died 6 seconds later. Back on Earth, debates surged. Was Blackstar still Terran? Was it obeying orders? Earth Command swore they had no contact. Blackstar didn't respond to recall codes, mission signals, or override protocols. It acted alone, but despite the mystery, Earth didn't object. Why would they? The enemy had finally started fearing them again. Meanwhile, the Serati fled border systems. The few who stayed refused to engage if Blackstar appeared. Entire sectors went dark. Their empire began to collapse inward, bleeding from a war it no longer understood. They hadn't been fighting a military. They'd been fighting a wound that refused to close. Other species began to speak Earth's name differently, with caution, with respect. The Zale coalition paused their hostilities, issuing statements of neutrality. The Zoranai sent observers to study the battle sites, only to return with radiation burns and corrupted memory banks. No one understood how the Blackstar moved, how it fought, or why it always won. And then came the silence. For 30 Terran days, Blackstar vanished. No appearances, no signals. The galaxy held its breath, and then it reappeared at the edge of Serati Prime. No fleet with it, no allies. Just one black shape in the void, watching a world once responsible for Earth's greatest tragedy. The message to Earth. Command arrived first. Not from Blackstar. From the Serati, Parley. The galaxy had finally learned they weren't afraid of Earth's numbers. They were afraid of the one ship Earth never meant to build. The one that didn't fight for medals, or orders, or protocol. Only for memory. Only for silence. And it was just getting started. The Serati delegation arrived in full ceremonial armor, posturing strength even in desperation. They met Earth's envoy on neutral ground, a hollowed asteroid called Varek Station, once a Serati prison mine turned diplomatic tomb. Everyone watching every species with access to a long-range feed understood what this meeting truly meant. Not a peace negotiation, but a plea for survival. The Serati offered terms first. Cessation of hostilities. Full withdrawal from contested systems. Reparation shipments over the next 30 cycles. They even offered to dismantle their forward fleet command and allow Terran observers into their outer territories. It was a surrender. In all but name, but Earth's envoy didn't speak. He simply played a single recording. The Blackstar's voice. You forgot what we are. The Serati ambassador twitched, not with fear but anger. We were at war, he spat. We acted as empires do. You were defeated. Your fleets burned. You lost your outer colonies. Your people. The Earth envoy held up one hand. Then he placed a data crystal on the table. One by one, it projected the last moments of a dozen Terran colonies, the Serati bombardments, the forced labor camps, the targeted strikes against schools, hospitals, refugee ships. No commentary, no music. Just raw footage. The room fell silent. The ambassador whispered, "We thought you wouldn't remember." The envoy said only, "That's why it came back." Outside, the Blackstar didn't orbit the station. It watched. Even though no system could explain how, every sensor felt its presence, pressing against the edges of thought. It never showed itself, but all parties knew. If the Serati tried anything, there wouldn't be a war. Just deletion. The delegation signed the terms, but Earth didn't celebrate. They didn't throw parades. They didn't even update their official war status. The Terran High Council met in private, and they issued only one new command. All ships, all stations, all colonies would broadcast a standard code: do not interfere. Do not follow. Do not forget. The code belonged to one entity. USS Blackstar. In the following weeks, something stranger occurred. Small outer rim factions that had once allied with the Serati began sending quiet envoys to Earth, not to offer tribute, but to ask protection. A mining guild from Proction 7, a rogue trader fleet once blacklisted by Earth Command. Even the Silent Core Hive offered technology in exchange for access to Terran-controlled lanes. Why? Because something was changing. The Blackstar wasn't just a rogue weapon anymore. It was a gravitational point around which war, diplomacy, and fear began to bend. No longer a myth, no longer a relic. It had become the face of Terran deterrence. Still, the Serati didn't learn their full lesson. Pushed by fear and wounded pride, they launched a covert operation, a strike force of elite assassins and tech priests. Their mission: infiltrate and seize the Blackstar, disable it, or at least understand it. They believed arrogantly that no ship, no matter how advanced, could be beyond sabotage. They found it 3 light years outside the Trinexus Rift, silent, empty, adrift. As if waiting, they approached slowly. Nothing responded, no targeting pings, no signals. Just open hull doors and cold silence. The boarding team entered. What happened next was recorded in their own recovered transmission. Darkness, no ambient light. Walls that shifted when not observed. Gravity inverting at random. They reported hearing whispers in languages they didn't speak. One of them saw their dead sibling in a corridor. Another fired at a shadow and hit his own partner, except the body was never recovered. Their communications degraded by the minute. Hallucinations bled into reality. One final message came from the last Serati operative before transmission cut. This is not a ship. And then nothing. Days later, a probe passed through that same sector. No trace of the strike team. No debris. Just a phrase carved into the outer hull of a shattered Serati scout ship. Written in broken Terran. Those who enter memory become memory. After that, no more missions were attempted. Meanwhile, Earth began receiving fragments of data in pulses randomly, without source. Logs from ancient battles. Camera feeds from colonies long lost. Final transmissions from warships thought destroyed. The Blackstar wasn't just fighting, it was archiving. Rebuilding humanity's forgotten pain. Historians begged for access. Psychologists warned of the trauma these files could cause. The military did neither. They created a sealed network, Blackstar Archive Protocol, and assigned a small, silent team to review, catalog, and encrypt. All of it was to be used for one purpose only: to remember. At the same time, reports emerged of Serati worlds being abandoned. Entire systems evacuated before a single shot was fired. Blackstar hadn't appeared, but its signal had. Some began calling it the Phantom Code. A faint electromagnetic signature, 5 pulses long, always the same sequence. When it was detected, enemies didn't fight. They ran. Even Earth's allies began to question. The Varn Clade requested a diplomatic summit. Their opening statement wasn't subtle. Is it under your control? Earth's reply was colder. No, but it's not under yours. The Varn did not press further. Through all this, Blackstar said nothing. It continued its solitary path across dead systems and battle-scarred routes, always avoiding populated Terran worlds. It never visited Earth. It never returned to command. But its message remained clear. To harm humanity was to awaken the memory of its rage. And now, that rage had a vessel, not a fleet. Not a legion. Just one ship, but one was enough. The rumors began with whispers on the edge of known spaceships glimpsing strange shadows in warp tunnels, listening posts detecting impossible time echoes, miners encountering silent, orbiting wreckage that hadn't been there the day before. Always the same signature: localized gravity flux, a drop in electromagnetic background noise, and a sensation the Terran psychologists called presence trauma. The USS Blackstar was moving again, but this time, it wasn't hunting. It was searching. Systems, untouched by war, began reporting anomalies. Old Terran colonies, long thought destroyed, were suddenly found intact, rebuilt, repowered, and left with no messages except a glowing Terran flag etched into the soil. A broken satellite around Vega 19, powered back on with footage from 80 years ago, people waving at a camera, unaware of the war that would erase them. Someone or something was reaching into the past and dragging its fragments back into the light. Then came the arrival at Kaleron Cradle, a world erased by Serati biobombing decades ago. No life remained, just ash and memory. Except now. An orbiting array floated silently above it, one not built by any known Terran fleet. It transmitted only a single loop, audio of a child laughing, then asking, "Are we going home now?" The galaxy froze. The Blackstar wasn't just remembering war. It was remembering life, and more dangerously, it was restoring it. That terrified. Even Earth. Because in every system it touched, gravity laws changed subtly. Light bent wrong. Time flowed strangely near its hull. The more it operated, the more reality around it began to conform to something else. Not Terran physics. Not Serati. Something older. Something shaped by emotion, memory, grief, and vengeance. Terran High Command convened in full for the first time in years. Arguments erupted. Some argued the Blackstar had become a threat, too powerful, too independent, and increasingly unbound by logic. Others warned, any attempt to stop it might wake a deeper response. In the end, they voted not to act, but to listen. They sent one person, Admiral Lena Rostov, the last surviving officer from the original Blackstar construction program. She hadn't spoken of it in decades. They found her in the Arctic commune, retired, half cybernetic, nearly blind. When they told her the ship was still alive, she didn't hesitate. They woke it, she said. Now they want it to sleep. Again, she agreed to go. They sent her aboard a silent courier craft, no weapons, no escort. When the Blackstar detected her, it did not fire. It opened. For the first time in recorded history, it invited someone aboard. She entered. Transmission ceased. 3 hours passed. When she returned, she looked older, weathered, as if the ship had weighed her with every second of lost time. She said nothing publicly, only gave a sealed report. What little leaked from that file was confusing, fragmented, and terrifying. The ship knew. It remembered every soldier, every child, every scream. It held faces, not data, feelings, not coordinates. It had become something not designed, not coded, something born. A constructive loss. Given form. And it wasn't finished. Admiral Rostov's final recommendation was brief. Let it continue, or everything ends. So Earth stood down. The Blackstar moved deeper into the galaxy, beyond charted systems. It left Terran space, passed through dead zones, and crossed into regions where even light struggled to travel. It began visiting Serati. War memorials, not to destroy them, but to overwrite them. Where once stood statues of Serati conquest, Blackstar left pillars of Terran names, carved not in stone but in folded space. Names of the fallen, names of the erased, and in some cases, names of enemies who died trying to save civilians. It remembered everyone, and it was broadcasting, a frequency no device could jam. A song of low pulses, a slow rhythmic beat that seemed to crawl under skin. Translations varied, but most agreed it wasn't a warning. It was a question. Are you listening now? The Serati Empire collapsed within cycles. Not from invasion, but from fear. No one attacked them. Their worlds were left untouched, but none could sleep under that sky. Blackstar wasn't eradicating them. It was forcing them to remember. The trauma, the guilt, the horror they buried under flags and titles. And in some, that memory broke them. Others, like the young, began to reach out. Small messages, simple words. We are sorry. We remember now. Can we stop this? Earth never replied, but the Blackstar did. In a distant system, a Serati orphan colony woke one morning to clean water, renewed crops, and rebuilt infrastructure. No instructions, no announcements. Just a metal plate in their central square. This is the price of remembering. And then, silence again. Centuries from now, historians would call it the Great Silence Doctrine. Not war, not peace. Something beyond both. A time when one ship wandered between stars, punishing forgetfulness and rewarding memory. A ship that bore no crew, no flag, and no home, only the ghosts of Earth's last war and the weight of its vengeance. Some say the Blackstar still travels, that in places where injustice festers too long, where children are silenced and soldiers are erased, it will come, not as a savior, not as an avenger, but as a witness. And when it comes, there are no warnings, no negotiations. Only silence, then memory. And then nothing.